for Empower for Change. How do you help the rest of your workforce, if they want to, lean into this conversation about race? How do you help them be part of the solution, right? So what have you done to ensure that they too recognise the problem, going back to the R? What have you done to make sure that they also understand the impact under the A? How are they part of the commitment to act, right? Is there a role for them? So how are you upskilling them from a knowledge perspective? But most importantly, how are you creating a safety net, a support infrastructure around them? Because nobody is going to be perfect tomorrow. I'm still not perfect with this, right? So I say do the wrong thing, right? Your employees, your colleagues are going to do that. The way to ensure that you keep the momentum with this is to think about what are the things that we can put in place to ensure that when they do fall, we're there to pick them back up and to keep them going. That is really important, because you cannot just leave people in limbo thinking that just because you've trained them in inverted commas, or just because they've read something, or you've rewritten a policy, that that's enough to get to the behavioural change that's needed. And the behavioural change that's needed is not always about whether you're not racist or not, or whether you say or do racist things. It's about how you don't be a bystander, right? How you can use your voice to amplify the voices of others, how you be an active ally, how you lead rather than follow, how you hold the organisation to account. And that's got nothing to do with skin colour. This is purely about people who care. And to answer the question about whether or not interventions and training and knowledge upskilling should be compulsory, that's up to you. But from our perspective, everything we do is about doing through choice rather than force. Because I just don't believe that force works, And so that's why when we go back to the R in recognising the problem, one of the things that I say to executive leadership teams is, there's two groups of companies, right? There's you can cut it in lots of different ways, but fundamentally, from my perspective, two different companies. The ones who want to do something, don't know how, don't know what, but that they're committed, right? So that's just about help us get started, help us know what to do. And there's the others who don't understand why they have to do something and need convincing that racism is a thing. Clearly, I only work with the first half, not the second half. But if you're in the second tranche, or your organisational culture, or your leadership team, or you, right, or people on your board are in that bucket, it means you will take a compliance approach to this, thinking that that's all it's going to take, because that compliance approach means that we're going to be out of hot water and we can demonstrate that we're doing something. But a compliance focus isn't going to advance racial equity. All that's going to do is make sure that you can tick a few boxes to say this is what we've done, or this is what we do if there's an issue with racial discrimination. So that's just something to think about under the Empower for Change, but also under the R at the very beginning, which is recognise the problem. And then when you layer on top, analyse the impact, commit to action, that is your framework, and every action that you take under each of those points is going to differ according to the size, the scale of your organisation, what you do, how connected to this issue your leadership teams are, how many black colleagues that you've got in your organisation. But irrespective, it doesn't mean that you don't or you can't do anything. It's just a choice about whether you want to or not. So that's it. That is the Daniels 4-factor race model for advancing racial equity. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that's been helpful. My job is to help you get started and to help you maintain the course.